Legends is trying to, test my skills. I think I'm getting a little bit better, which I'm really not, but it feels like I am because it's kind of fun. But it just seems like I'm spinning my wheels in that game, man. I don't understand it. I mean, I'm going to try something else here next time. Just don't know how soon that's going to be. Sometime this week. Got a lot going on. Lots. But anyway, we're going to go down this TikTok rabbit hole. All right. See what's out there. Could be something funny. Could be something mysterious. Could be some conspiracy theories. Could be some major news headlines. I don't know what we're going to find. But we're going to go do it. Follow me. Follow me, follow me, follow me.
Imagine you're me scrolling on your For You page in the middle of the night and you see this. Now, this is a doll. Let's get that out of the way first. And this woman married this doll.
What the fudge?
Just picture them at their wedding. And she has like an entire family of like zombie dolls. But is this not so like unnerving? And
yeah.
Also, is that not like a child zombie doll? I understand this is not what my like page normally is about. Like it's usually like crime and like hauntings and stuff like that. But like this is freaking me out.
It's pretty freaky.
This chilling and unexplainable video was captured by Basil, a 78-year-old adventurer with a profound love for the great outdoors. On his YouTube channel, Voyager Overland, Basil shares breathtaking footage of his journeys, showcasing some of the most stunning and remote places in nature. Known for documenting the beauty of the wilderness to share with his audience, this time, Basil captured something that he would never forget.
So Gene and I are out on yet another adventure. And last time we were out, I caught some footage that, quite frankly, has me a little spooked. And I haven't quite decided if I want to show it yet. Now, it's not the first time that I catch something in the background while we're recording. Like a deer that we didn't notice, or some hikers that we didn't see while we were busy winching the Jeeps out of a mud hole or something. But this was different. Now, I don't understand what I saw and I can't explain it. So if you have seen anything like it, please feel free to let me know what you think it is in the comments.
It was a sunny day on October 26th, 2024, when Faisal, his wife Jean, and their 2 grandkids set out on yet another adventure. Their destination? Ruby Falls, nestled in the breathtaking Alberta Rockies. They eventually set up camp, pitching their tents and settling in for the night. But before fully settling in, he decided to set up a trail camera.
So for a while now, I've been putting out a trail cam at night, hoping to catch some wildlife around camp while we're sleeping. And with my granddaughter, who just loves wildlife. How cool could it be if I could show her some night pictures of what's walking around at night while we're sleeping?
Yeah,
now, I must admit, I haven't had any luck so far. I've put out the camera many times and never captured any footage.
Faisal decided to set up his night vision camera, hoping to capture some wildlife footage for his granddaughter. Little did he know, he was about to record something far more terrifying and unsettling. Let's have a look at it.
Is it? I saw something. I saw something. Is it an animal? Oh, Lord.
The camera captured a ghostly figure with glowing eyes that pierced through the darkness. The figure appeared to wander around their campsite, but what made it even more chilling was that, upon noticing the camera, it approached, its face coming fully into view. The next morning, Faisal was shocked by what the trail camera had captured. He had no rational explanation for the eerie figure, and the footage left him feeling deeply uneasy. He told his viewers he chose not to show the video to his grandkids. It was simply too terrifying to watch. When Faisal uploaded the video to his YouTube channel, it went viral almost instantly, sparking debate and speculation. No one has been able to definitively explain what was captured, only deepening the mystery. And the same can be said about the next disturbing video.
Oh yeah, this dude is weird. Hey, but before we move on, what do y'all think? Hey, chat. What do y'all think about that last video? Is there any explanation? Cap? No cap? What you thinking? Why is it? Why does the house look just like nasty? You know, got a nasty look to it. I ain't hating on the crib. This dude's weird. That's not real. Not even close.
Who are you? Please let me in. Huh? Please help me. What? What's wrong with you? It me. What? It took my daughter. Burger? Please let me inside.
Whack.
If you see someone with a face like this, run as fast as you can and don't look back.
Oh shit.
Huh? Please help me. What? What's wrong with you?
But before showing you the end of this video, I advise you to check if your phone is not being spied on by clicking here then on more. If you see this app, delete it immediately. So, John was driving home late at night when suddenly a woman with a distorted and barely recognizable face appeared in the middle of the road. Forcing him to stop, she claimed that something had taken her son. Fam, her terror was real. Her voice trembled with every word. John was shocked, paralyzed by uncertainty about how to respond.
Oh shit.
Observing her strange deformed features, he realized she was more than just a desperate mother, but something much more sinister. Unbeknownst to him, this woman was the host of a sinister entity. John was truly frightened. Now watch what happens next in this video. Remember to follow us and save this video if you want to be protected. If you see someone with a face like this, run as fast as you can and don't look back.
Oh shit.
What are we doing? Did we reach into that one? Yeah, that weirdness.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about that moment?
I'm about to let y'all into a little portion of my life. Do not judge me. I'm just going to be completely honest, okay? So I'm a mother of 6.
God.
Now,
dang.
I had my first child when I was 14, my second one when I was 16, my third one when I was 17, my fourth one when I was 18.
Where were your
now,
parents
this
at?
story
Stopping
revolves
you from
around the
being a
child I had
fast
when I was
ass.
18. So I met my ex-husband when I was 15, and we had our first child when I was 16, meaning I had one prior to that. So I gave birth to a little girl, my second one, with my ex-husband, which would be his first. Then we had a son. Then I was pregnant at 18 with my next daughter.
Oh my
Keep
God.
all this in mind. So when I'm pregnant, me and my ex-husband, we were house hunting because he had done got a good job. He'd been working good for a while. We done stacked some money up. Well, he done stacked some money up for us. But nonetheless, you know, it's just. So y'all, we come across this beautiful house. I mean, beautiful. And when we come across it, they're remodeling it. They're opening up spaces. They doing all kinds of construction to it. It is gonna be a brand new, totally new house when it's finished. So when we come across it, we mess around, see the workers in there. They give us the number of the people who own it. We call them. They like, you give us the deposit, we'll save the house for you. So we with the shit. So we like, yeah, cool. Now y'all, this is a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house. Full 2-car garage, a full upstairs attic.
I follow.
And then what they would call a washroom behind the garage. And the backyard, immaculate. You hear me? I mean, it is gorgeous. You just had to be there. But you really had to be there to know all the creepy stuff that was getting ready to occur. And it was several people there who can actually coincide with my story. So, the day I give birth to my daughter is the day the people call and say, hey, the house is ready. Oh, but I just gave birth, right? My baby daddy didn't care about none of that. He moved us in while I was in hospital. And then the rent was dirt cheap. That's when we should have knew something was wrong. So this is the very first occurrence of when I knew it was some shit going on. Y'all, it was cold as hell in there. And it's early August. And I live in North Carolina. And if you know anything about North Carolina, it's hot. It's 90 degrees in early August. So I'm opening up doors and windows, cleaning up and stuff, you know, getting the house put together because my baby daddy going to work. He done moved us in. So I got to do something while I'm there. Y'all, on the second night, I'm sitting in there. My daughter's crying. I'm making her a bottle. I see her bottle on the countertop. It moves from one end of the countertop to the other. Then back to where it started. Come back for part 2.
Let me tell you about the spookiest demonic encounter I ever had. So I used to be a worship leader at a church, and I used to be married.
Cap, no cap. Which y'all think? She's just trying to tell a little story. I mean, it was kind of cool, but I don't believe none of that.
To a worship leader at a church. It was our first year of marriage, and we had just moved into a very small apartment, and it was in kind of a rough part of town. And well, one evening, me and my husband were just kind of hanging out on the little patio area outside our front door. It was dark. It was probably about 9 o'clock in the evening. And as we're sitting there just kind of talking, I look over my shoulder because something catches my eye. And I see a man standing probably 15 feet from us, dressed in solid black. He had like a hoodie on, like had a hood over his face, and I couldn't make out any facial features, but he was just standing there, just looking at us. And I look at my husband and I go, babe, let's go. That guy's creeping me out. And my husband kind of looks over there and he goes, okay. And he kind of ushers me back inside. We go inside, shut the door, lock the door. And I was like, what was that guy doing? That was just super creepy. He was just standing there staring at us. And my husband looks at me and he said, look, I didn't want to say this while we were outside because I didn't want to scare you, but there was nobody there. I said,
what?
Nobody there? He was right there, like 15 feet away. He was just standing on the sidewalk staring at us. How could you have not seen him? And he was like, he said, I swear to God, babe, I looked right where you were looking. There was nobody on the sidewalk. This story gets creepier. Not long after this, my husband wakes me up in the middle of the night. We're laying in bed together and he's like, babe, wake up. And so I kind of stir awake and I'm like, what? And he's like, are you the one sitting here tapping on the headboard? And I'm like, what? He's like, I've been laying here awake for like 30 minutes and I thought maybe you were just laying there like trying to prank me and scare me. I'm like, knocking on the headboard. He's like, yeah, it's just been going like just right behind my head. And I thought maybe it was your hand and you were trying to do it to scare me. And I said, no, I'm not knocking on the headboard. And he's like, okay, super weird. We go to sleep. He wakes up, I don't know how long it was, but he wakes up and he wakes me up again. He was like, oh my God, I just had the most demonic, terrifying dream. And I'm going to tell y'all about that dream and how it came true in part 2.
Come on.
This is a 100% true story that happened to a woman in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, there was this woman named Sherry who moved into this house with her 2 children in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, she said, at the time she didn't believe in anything supernatural. She really thought that was a bunch of nonsense. But she said, right away when they moved in, she would notice, out of the corner of her eye, sometimes shadows moving across the walls. She would hear strange noises that she couldn't explain. But she said for the most part, it was just a normal house. One night, she's upstairs in her bedroom and she's folding laundry. She hears talking coming from her son's room. So she makes her way over to his room. The door's closed and she hears her son having a full-on conversation with someone. And she's like, who is he talking to, at 12:30 at night? So she opens the door, and when she looks in his room, he is not in his bed. So she starts yelling for him. She looks down and sees him next to the side of his bed, on his knees, crouched down, with his head under the bed, talking to someone.
Oh my goodness.
And she's like, hey, who are you talking to? Like, who's under there? And her son's like, I can't tell you. And she said, what do you mean you can't tell me? Like, who's under the bed? And he's like, I can't say. He'll get mad. And she's like, what? Who's under there? So she runs over to the bed and she looks underneath there. It's empty. There's nothing under there. So she's like, you know what? Just get back in bed. Like, just stop, doing whatever you're doing. Several weeks pass, and like on a regular basis, she keeps finding her son talking to someone under the bed, except there's no one there. So after a few weeks of this happening, she thinks maybe something is wrong with her son. So she takes him to this child therapist. The therapist assesses him and says, he seems completely fine. It's probably just his imagination. So several months pass and he keeps on doing this. Well, one day she's sitting down in the living room with him and they're talking when she notices he has some scratches and bruises all over his body. And she's like, where did you get those scratches and bruises from? Like, what's going on? And he's like, I can't say, I can't tell you. And she's like, yes, you have to tell me, what is going on with you? And finally he breaks down and he starts crying and stuff. And he just starts freaking out. And then he runs up to his room. So the mom, at this time is like, I don't know what to do. What is going on with my son? She's just panicking. Later that night, she's awoken to her son screaming in his bedroom. She runs as fast as she can. She goes in his room. She finds him halfway underneath the bed. He's grabbing onto the bed frame, and it looks like something is pulling him under the bed. So she immediately grabs him, pulls him out from under the bed. She looks under there. There's no one there. So she's like, you know what? This is weird. You're sleeping with me tonight. You're going to be in bed with me tonight. So they go back to her bedroom. He lays down.
That's just Roswell just saw.
She's sitting in bed. She can't sleep. She's freaked out about this whole situation. When all of a sudden she hears, shh, hey, come under the bed. And she's like, what? She looks over. Her son is sleeping. But then once again, she hears, hey, come here, under the bed. I need to talk to you. And it's like a man's voice.
Fuck that.
And she's like, no, who are you? Go away. And the man's like, come on, get under the bed. I need to tell you something. And she's like, no, I'm not going under the bed. And she said this man, whoever he was, just started yelling obscenities and getting really angry. So she grabs her son. They get out of the house. And she said she left that night and never went back. And still to this day, that house sits there. And she said she's talked to the neighbors. And they said since she's moved, several families have lived there and they move out immediately.
This is one of those cases that doesn't sit right with me. This is Dorothy Jane Scott. She was murdered in the 1980s, and for years, the killer tormented her family with phantom phone calls. And to this day, they are still out there somewhere. So let's dive into the story. So the story of Dorothy's disappearance is really strange. On the night of May 28, 1980, Dorothy drove two of her friends to the hospital, as one of them had been bitten by a spider that night. So at the end of the hospital visit, while they were waiting to get a prescription filled, Dorothy Jane walked to go grab her car and bring it up so that the two friends could meet her outside. And once they were outside, the friends saw Dorothy's car coming towards them, but it quickly sped off and left them there. Now, they couldn't see who exactly was in the car, who was driving, because the headlights blinded them, but in a few hours, they reported her missing because they couldn't get in contact with Dorothy. And she would be missing for years. So in the months leading up to her murder, Dorothy had acquired a stalker. She had been receiving phone calls at work from a strange, unidentified male caller. And on these phone calls, this guy would tell her how much he loved her, and then he would state that he intended on killing her soon. One day, this phantom man even told Dorothy to go outside because he left a surprise on her car, and when she went outside to look, there was a single dead rose on her windshield, which is very creepy. On one of these particularly gruesome phone calls, the caller even stated that he planned on abducting Dorothy and chopping her up into little bits so that no one would ever find her. So these phone calls obviously terrified Dorothy, and in the week leading up to her disappearance, she started taking karate lessons. Okay, so let's flash back to the night that Dorothy disappeared. Remember, her friends were waiting for her outside of the hospital when they saw her car speed by them, but they couldn't see who was inside the vehicle. At around 4:30 a.m. that morning, 5 hours or so after they saw her car speeding away, the car was found abandoned in an alleyway 10 miles from the hospital, and it was on fire, which torched all evidence that could have been in the vehicle. So Dorothy would be missing for years, 4 years in fact. But it only took 1 week after her disappearance for the killer to start calling her own parents. So about every Wednesday afternoon for a period after Dorothy went missing, this caller would call her parents and say the strangest things. He would tell them things like, "I have her." He would also claim that he was the one who killed Dorothy. He was basically tormenting her parents and saying that he knows exactly where she is and what had happened, but he was never going to tell them. Now, 4 years later, this was going on for 4 years, in April of 1984, this caller once again called Dorothy's family, but instead of her mom picking up the phone that night, her dad did. And after her dad picked up the phone calls completely stopped. That is, until a few months later. Now, in August of 1984, a construction worker would come across a set of bones that belonged to a human and a dog. And those bones were eventually revealed to be those of Dorothy's.
Damn.
And immediately after her remains were found, the caller once again began to call her parents. This time, the police installed a recorder that bugged the family's phones. They were trying to get this guy's voice on recording and trace the phone calls, but the calls were never long enough for them to trace, and they still had no idea who this guy was. To this day, authorities still don't know how Dorothy died. And even though the phone calls eventually stopped, the killer's never been brought to justice. Now, the only suspect that's ever emerged in this case still doesn't have a name. It's the same guy that called, obviously, Dorothy's family, but it was a man who called a local newspaper just a few days after Dorothy went missing. And on this phone call, this guy said that he loved Dorothy, she had been cheating on him, and that he was the one who killed her. So that means that to this day, this killer is probably still out there somewhere, and they've never been brought to justice. This crime occurred over 40 years ago. There are no leads, and I don't think that this is a case that will ever be solved. If this killer dies, I'm sure that they're going to take this secret to the grave with them.
Did you know in the United States, there's a mile marker in Arizona that doesn't show up on any map, and if you stop there, you might never leave? In 2011, 26-year-old college student Elijah Brown was driving alone from Phoenix to Flagstaff after a late-night party. Around 2:47 a.m., he called his sister, panicked, saying, "There's a mile marker that says 321, but it's not on GPS. I swear I passed it 3 times. I'm stuck in a loop." The call ended abruptly. His phone kept pinging the same highway stretch for exactly 10 hours. When police finally found his car, it was empty. Engine off, door open, right next to mile marker 321, which doesn't officially exist. 3 months later, a trucker named Joey Larkin reported seeing a man standing barefoot by that same marker. His clothes were torn, eyes wide, whispering, "Don't stop, don't ever stop." When shown a photo, Joey confirmed it was Elijah. No one's seen him since. Arizona Department of Transportation denies mile marker 321 was ever installed, but some night drivers say it only appears after 2:30 a.m., and it always looks freshly painted, even when no one maintains that stretch. They say if you see it, keep driving, because if you stop, time doesn't just slow down, it forgets you.
Does anyone else remember the terrifying story of Carmen Winstead? Carmen Winstead was just a teenage girl that was trying to make friends at her new school. Her dad had recently lost his job, so he and Carmen relocated to Indiana so that he could find a new place of work. This was difficult for Carmen, as it would be for most 17-year-olds, and as a result, she found her first year at this new school to be pretty challenging. But then, she was befriended by a group of 5 other girls in her class. They all appeared pretty nice, but Carmen would soon discover that these girls had been gossiping about her behind her back and spreading rumors about her. One of these rumors that this group of girls had started was that Carmen was sleeping with the school's janitor. This ultimately damaged her reputation at school, so now she not only lost these 5 girls that she thought were her friends, but also any other chance to make new friends. Carmen summoned up the strength to confront the girls that were fabricating these horrible lies about her, but this just led to even more bullying. In response to Carmen's attempt to stand up for herself, the girls started calling her names, and they even broke into her locker and ruined her personal items. Carmen was really hurt by this and didn't know what else to do, so one day she stayed after class and told her teacher her about the relentless bullying she had been experiencing. The next day after lunch, there was a fire drill scheduled. As the students gathered outside and the teachers began doing roll call, Carmen was seen by a sewer opening with the 5 girls that had been tormenting her. The girls thought it would be funny and embarrassing to Carmen if they pushed her down the sewer drain in front of the entire class. So they circled around her and pushed her into the opening of the sewer. As Carmen fell into the sewer opening, one of the girls shouted, "She's in the sewer," in an attempt to get attention and embarrass Carmen. The teacher rushed over to the opening, and when they looked inside, they saw Carmen standing still with her head turned to one side. The police were called, and when they arrived, they saw that Carmen's face had been completely torn off during the fall and her neck had been broken. Everyone involved was questioned, and the 5 girls claimed that Carmen had just fallen into the opening all on her own. Because of this, the case was closed and classified as an accident. A few months later, strange posts from an unidentified person started appearing on the MySpace profiles of all of the students that went to Carmen's school. The posts were saying that Carmen's death had not been an accident. Those responsible for Carmen's death were given a window of opportunity to confess to authorities or face dire consequences, and these 5 girls never turned themselves in. Instead, each one of them were found dead, one by one, after they refused to accept responsibility for their actions. Carmen's spirit continued to haunt the internet by sending chainmail that stated that if the receiver didn't spread the word about the horrible things those 5 girls did to her, they too would suffer the same fate. Whoever didn't forward the email or repost her message would begin to hear laughter coming from their sink, the shower drain, or the toilet. They would go to sleep that night only to wake up in a sewer, terrified and completely paralyzed. Then, as they screamed in horror, Carmen would come and tear their face off, just like what had happened to her.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave them a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, you know, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid, there was no like steps walking, it sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after
Stupid.
leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it. And the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door. And mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest as she's telling her, get up and let's go. Baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
So story time. I promise you will be entertained, but if you start the story, please stay till the end. So when I was 5 years old, my entire family was killed in a car crash, and I was the sole survivor. When I turned 18, I decided to move out of state for college because I didn't really...
I can barely hear you.
This is not a story I tell people all the time, because people would think I'm lying or I'm delusional. To this day, I'm very careful about who I talk to about the story, but this is a fact. This is something that happened to me.
So what was the plan as a little hospital boy at Academy Road in 10 years earlier, he received a call from his own childhood best friend who had a terrifying message.
This experience happened to me about, it was early 80s. in Los Angeles, California. I was an actor, a struggling actor, just trying to figure out how to make a career, a real go of it. People who know me know that I stop by my mom's house, a couple times a week to go see my mom. Everybody who knows me knows that about me. So one day I actually give her a call. She doesn't answer the phone. So I stop by. And my mom meets me outside her house and tells me to get back in the car and go home. And it was really weird. I was like, Mom, are you okay? She was like, yeah, baby, I'm fine. Just get back in the car and go home. I'll talk to you later. Call me when you get home. So I called her when I got home and she said everything was fine. So a couple days later, I stopped by her house again. And she meets me outside like clockwork and says, get back in the car and go home. And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? Are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm fine. It cannot be here now.
And I'm like, is somebody bothering you?
No.
She said, baby, just get in the car. If you see any of your friends, don't stop. Go home.
Go straight home.
I asked my mother if there was anyone in the house. She said no. And I looked at her and she said, no, Mama wants you to go home. So I looked at her like, okay, Mom, all right, okay. And I got in the car and I went home. I was tempted, on the second occasion especially, to push my way past her and go in the house to see if everything was okay. But I would never disrespect my mom. But my mother's not a meek, like frail type person. She's a very strong woman. James Brown said, Papa don't take no mess. Mama don't take no mess at all. And you know that. A couple days go by and my phone rings. It's my mom. So she asked me if I can come and see her. So I'm like, yeah, Mom, are you okay? She's like, when can you get here? So I said, I can leave now.
I was
What
9
the
years old when
fudge?
this happened. For whatever reason, I was home alone one night, so I was playing video games upstairs in my room. I wasn't allowed to answer the door to anyone when I was home alone. Whenever I was left alone, it wasn't for long. My mom would just be out grocery shopping or something like that. I was playing Metroid Prime on my GameCube. I used to be obsessed with that game.
That was a game.
I heard the house phone downstairs start to ring. My mom always told me to pick up the phone if it rang, in case it was her calling. So I hurried downstairs, and by maybe the fourth ring, I picked up. The caller ID was from my mom's cell phone. She said, Sweetie, can you come outside and help with the groceries? I replied, Mom? She said back, yes. I felt like something sounded off with her voice. You obviously know your own mom's voice, and so
Damn,
even
I'm
at such
tired
a
as
young
hell.
age, when I was
So sorry.
questioning why it didn't sound like her, I said, why do you sound like that? She replied, like what, sweetie? And I hung up. My mom would never use the word sweetie like that, especially twice in a matter of seconds. The phone rang again, and my mom's number came up on the caller ID again. I ignored it.
Don't act
For some
like you
reason,
ain't
my
ever
heart
fell
was
asleep on
racing.
a stream.
I was nervous.
Tired
I
as a
sat in the
bug.
kitchen, waiting
I
to
worked
see if
this
the phone
morning,
would ring
y'all.
a third time, and it did. It took a couple minutes before the third ring.
that heat.
But when I checked the caller ID, this time it was a different number. I picked up, and a man's voice on the other end said, Hey James, I know this is gonna sound weird, but it's your dad. I'm outside. All I could mutter out was a weak, what? The man said, I'm outside. I have a lot to explain. I hung up right then and there. My suspicion was in fact true that the first voice I heard was not my mom's. The phone rang again, and then again after that. I ignored it each time. I couldn't even call my mom because someone clearly had her phone. Then things took a turn for the worse when there were knocks at the front door. This went from a someone has my mom's phone situation to a someone is outside the house situation. My mom would not be knocking on the door. She'd have a key, obviously. I peered around the wall of the kitchen to look at the front door. I heard a man's muffled voice on the other side saying my name. He was saying, "It's your dad." He rang the doorbell, and then I heard him start attempting to open the door. I did something that no 9-year-old should ever have to do, and that was grabbing the phone and calling 911. The 911 operator asked me what I imagined to be some pretty standard questions, most importantly telling me to wait in a bathroom or other room with a lockable door until the police get there. The bathroom is on the first floor of the house. I hid in there with the lights off. Whoever was outside came to the window and tried pulling it open. I heard their entire struggle. Then they must have moved to the next window. I think they tried every window and door in the house. If anything were to have been unlocked, this story would have had a very different outcome. They must have given up at some point before the police arrived. And I say they because clearly there were 2 people involved in this, a man and a woman. They both could have been out there for all I know. The operator told me that the police are at the front door now and it's safe to go meet them there. Only when I opened the door to the police was when I hung up the phone. They did a quick investigation inside and outside of the house and asked me where my mom was supposed to be and if my mom knew anyone who might want to hurt us. I'm sure I said I thought she was grocery shopping or something, and not that I know of. My mom returned home with my little sister in a panic when she saw the police cars out front. My mom's phone was stolen, which was already clear. I'm sure that our address, home phone number, and other personal information was stored somewhere on the phone, easily accessible, though how they knew my name, I'm not exactly sure. Something on my mom's phone must have given it away. It was an old Nokia flip phone. Who stole it was a mystery. But my mom's phone background was a picture of her with my little sister and I. This could have been an indication to some disgusting, creepy couple out there that the owner of this phone was a single mom with 2 young kids, and they tried to use that as a way of tricking me into leaving the house, which is absolutely disgusting and horrific. The phone must have been destroyed after the failed attempts at trying to lure me outside. Things were a little different after this. My mom wouldn't leave me alone anymore at night. Not until I was a few years older, at least.
What would happen if you followed a mimic? Now, I've always wondered this, because you hear these stories of someone hearing like their mother knocking at the door or telling them to come in the kitchen. But what would happen if you actually listened to the mimic? Here's a story that might tell you why you should not follow a mimic. There was this young man named Aiden. Now, Aiden lived with his grandfather and his 2 parents. Now, one day, Aiden was hanging out in his bedroom and he's playing a game. Well, he hears his parents like pull in, and he looks out the window and sees them getting out of the car, unloading some groceries into the house. So he's like, awesome, man, we're going to have something to eat. So he goes back to his game, and then he hears
All right, this is
mother
whack.
say,
Just put me to sleep.
So this next story was sent in by somebody who would like to remain anonymous. So shout out to Anonymous for sending in your story. And this is their experience. I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Cicero with my mom, sister, and myself. My sister had moved out and my mom had met her boyfriend right across the hall, whom is now her husband. She would sleep at his apartment and it was right across from us, only 3 feet away. So it kind of felt like I had my own apartment at 13. I was obsessed with scary movies, and the one night I decided to watch a scary movie, it was The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, yeah.
Not gonna lie to y'all, I watched this movie growing up and it fucked me up for months. Like, peeking out of the curtain while showering type shit. I was so obsessed with it that I would recite the demons' names.
I wouldn't have
That was
obsessed.
harmless, would transform into me almost getting possessed. My mom had gotten in a fight with her boyfriend, so she slept back in the apartment for a week with me. And one day, out of curiosity, I asked her if God was real. She was so upset by my question that she just yelled at me and grounded me. A day later, my mom had yelled at me as soon as I woke up to get ready for school. I was so confused because I didn't know or remember what she was talking about. She said that at 3 in the morning I was on my knees in the dark playing patty cake with a girl named Melissa, right next to her bed on the floor. She had yelled at me to go back to bed, and she said I did it with no hesitation. The second day comes, and my mom was cooking in the kitchen. She said I was wide awake, telling her that the man was here and told me to tell you that he would be back. My mom was so upset that she couldn't believe that man, and my only response was the same thing. My mom looked at me and noticed I had a blank stare and did not blink. She asked me if I was sleeping, and she said I did respond and said yes. She walked me back to bed and laid me down, and I fell asleep right away. The third day, I had woken up to get ready for school, and I noticed a rosary around my neck. I had asked my mother, when did she put this on me? She said I put it on you because you were scaring me, and I said how? She said when we were sleeping, I was laying next to her with my eyes wide open, not blinking or talking.
Oh, Lord.
My mom then began to say that she would speak to me and not a word would come out of my mouth, that I just kept looking at her. Oh, fuck no. She said she put the rosary over me and started praying, and as soon as she was done with the prayer, I closed my eyes. My mom does not like talking about it because it still scares her, and now I am 27 and only heard her talking about it 3 times my whole life. I mean, I don't blame her. It's fucking terrifying. Personally, I probably would have decked you right in the chin. Sorry.
An old man one following night was sitting all alone at home at night by himself, and he heard noises in his house. Now, he don't believe in the paranormal, he don't believe in ghosts, nothing like that, so he just thought it was natural noises that was inside
I've been
of his
checking
house.
this guy out.
What he didn't know was somebody was actually inside of his house, creeping in the attic of his house, but he had no idea. He just thought that that was natural sounds. It was like, no way it could be a ghost. But weeks on weeks on weeks, he would hear what seems to be crawling noises, footstep noises, tapping noises in his house. Where it's coming from, how this noise is coming at all, he's just kind of confused. So he's literally brushing it off, and he's just thinking maybe something is wrong with his house, or maybe there's an animal somewhere in the walls of his house. It's not really that big of a deal. Until one following night, the old man got up out of bed late at night to go to the kitchen. As he's walking to the kitchen, he see this tall figure standing in front of the fridge, looking directly at him. This old man named Peter started swinging his cane at him because, you know, he's walking with a cane, he's kind of old. But this tall figure, this tall man took advantage of him because he's old, so this man is stronger, and he ended up murdering Peter, the old man, and he left him there. Didn't move him, just left him there. When the police got involved to go check out this house, I really don't know the details on how the police found out that they needed to go check this house, but they did. When they searched the house and checked the house, they quickly found Peter laying there on the ground. Not only that, they couldn't find any evidence on the creep that's living inside Peter's house. Basically, in the walls of his house there was a trap door spot in the closet. The police were searching the house, they seen it, but they thought a person couldn't fit in there and there was no way somebody could possibly be in there, so they just left this trap door in the closet alone. They didn't bother to check it. Big mistake. Oh, I'm stupid. Because I started this story saying, you know, he's all alone by himself at home at night. Peter had a wife. His wife just wasn't there at the time. Now, when his wife finally got at the house, back at the house, she noticed that her husband was laying there. I don't know if his wife been sleeping in different houses or with friends. I don't know what's going on. But he had a wife. The wife discovered first. She called the police. The police got involved. They checked the house. They couldn't find anything. So the wife decided to hire a maid for the house. And both the wife and the maid started to think that this house is haunted. You know, unlike the husband that don't believe in ghosts. They do, because they're hearing taps, what seem to be crawling noises, what seem to be footsteps. They're hearing it, but they don't know where it's really coming from. The maid hearing it, this wife hearing it. They going to each other and they're like, yeah, I've been hearing the strange noise too. I'm glad it's not just me. I'm glad I'm not losing my mind. So they believe that this house is haunted. This scared them so bad that she moved. Now the house is empty. She moved. You know how scared you gotta be for this to happen, for you to move? I'm glad that she did, because she possibly could have been next. But while this house is vacant, while no one in the house, the neighbors can see that the lights would turn on, the lights would turn off. They would see a person walk past the window. So they knew that somebody was in this vacant, empty house living inside. So one of the neighbors even got up in the middle of the night when they seen something like a light cut on, then cut right off. The neighbor decides to put on his shoes, go outside, open the door, close his door, walk across the street, and knock on the door. Yes, they wanted to know if somebody was actually inside the house. Knock on the door, rang the doorbell, but nobody answered. Now the Denver police would get so many calls about this house because of the neighbors keep reporting there's somebody in that house. I'm seeing the shadows. I'm seeing somebody look out the windows. I'm seeing the lights turn off and on. Someone's in the house. The police is getting way too much calls. They didn't want to do nothing at first. Now they decided to watch the house at nighttime. And as these two officers is in their police car watching the house, they found someone walking past the window. The lights wasn't on, but because the house is so empty, no blinds, nothing, when they seen the shadow of someone walking in the windows, they quickly broke down the door, ran inside of the house to find this person. They heard noise upstairs, so they ran upstairs and they found the legs of this person crawling in that trap door room in the closet, and they grabbed him by the legs and pulled him down. When they yanked him down, he was really a tall person. His name was Theodore. You know, he was the man that murdered the old guy. He confessed to the murder, and he also said he lived in the attic for 9 months.
Oh, wow.
Picture here. He had it like his whole setup in his attic, and it's just so crazy that somebody could be in your house stalking and living with you, and you have no idea. This is one of the reasons why I don't want a big house, because I just know if I don't have a huge family, it don't make no sense for me to get one of them big houses, because it'll be so easy. If I leave a window open, leave the door open, somebody could creep in and just live in my house without me knowing.
What locals did to this man's family was pure evil. This was the real-life Pennywise. In 1954, Victor Lane was a kind clown who performed at the Black Hollow Carnival in a small Ohio town. But Victor's life had always been full of pain. As a child, he lost his family in a mysterious fire that destroyed their home. The townsfolk called it an accident, but Victor overheard men joking about how the freaks got what they deserved. Despite his scars, Victor became a clown to bring happiness to others. But Black Hollow never welcomed him. They called him Creepy Smiley and spread rumors behind his back. One October night, a group of boys at the carnival decided to humiliate Victor. They set his tent on fire during his performance, destroying his props and leaving his face badly burned. The crowd laughed as Victor stumbled into the woods, his costume in tatters. After that night, the town changed. Children began disappearing. Parents would find red balloons tied to their doors or balloon animals on their porches. The mayor's son vanished after a balloon was tied to his mailbox. Some claimed they saw Victor's shadow in the woods, his smeared makeup and scarred face visible under his tattered mask. A search party found a shack deep in the forest with old carnival props, burned family photos, and a mirror etched with the words, "Who's laughing now?" But Victor was gone. Now, every October, red balloons appear around Black Hollow. Locals say it's a warning. Victor hasn't forgotten, and the clown of Black Hollow always returns. And every year, someone disappears.
This happened in March of 2022 during spring break. I was in my second year of college. My friends and I, 6 of us total, decided to rent a cabin out in South Carolina for a few days, just to get away from...
This is a res story I heard near Cherokee, North Carolina. There was this guy who said when he was younger and he lived with his parents that his dad would, at night, they had these pieces of plywood attached to hinges that they would close over the windows and they would padlock. And he always wondered why every night his dad would padlock the windows shut. Well, one day he decided to ask his father, and he said, "Father, you know, why do you lock the windows at night? Like, what are you trying to keep out?" And his dad just looks at him and says, "You don't ask about that. We don't talk about it. Like, you ask anymore, you're going to be grounded. You're going to be in trouble." And he was like, you know, surprised that his dad was so angry when he had asked that question. And so he always wondered in the back of his mind, like, what was he trying to keep out of the house? Well, one night he is in his bedroom and he's having trouble sleeping. And he looks over at his alarm clock and it's exactly 3:03 a.m. And he starts hearing, and he hears this whistling, like coming from outside of the house. And he keeps hearing it over and over again. So he gets up and he goes out into the living room and he goes, and his dad is out there kind of frantically moving back and forth, pacing around. And he goes, "Dad, why are you, like, what is that whistling? Like, why are you up? And what is that whistling sound? Like, are you making that?" And he goes, No, stop talking about it. Look, you need to go back into your bedroom and go to sleep. It'll be all right. And he said his dad was just like terrified. And so he went back into his bedroom and he said it went on for a little bit and then it stopped. And he said he started to realize, like, late at night, every time at 3:03 a.m., right, he would hear whistling and it would sound like it was coming from outside the house. And his dad would be up, just sort of walking the hallways, walking the floors, like freaking out. So, you know, he was always confused about what this sound was. So one day he goes over to the neighbor's house and he goes, you know, at night we hear this whistling sound, and it happens every night, you know, at the same time. Like, do you know anything about it? Do you hear the whistling? And he said, the neighbor said, you need to go home right now. Like, and his neighbor wouldn't talk about it and was like creeped out and like instantly like went inside his house. So he kept trying to get it out of people in town. Like, does anybody know about like this whistling sounds that happen at night? Like, do you know what that is? No one would talk about it. So one night he is like hanging out with his brother in his bedroom, and they decided they were going to kind of stay up late telling some scary stories. Well, at like 3:03 in the morning, they hear, and they hear the whistling. And he tells his brother, like, you hear that? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, every morning I hear that at like 3:03, and like dad freaks out and stuff. And his brother's like, well, why don't you just like try and open one of the windows up and, you know, see if you could get the key, unlock the padlock, and look out the window. And he's like, what? No, are you kidding? Like, dad would freak out. Dad would freak out. And his brother's like, well, if you're not brave enough, I'll go do it. So he said his brother like snuck out into his parents' bedroom and got like his dad's keys and went over to one of the windows, unlocked it, and then moved the plywood away from the window. And when he looked out the window, he sort of just jumped back, and he turned around and had just this look of dread on his face. And he didn't talk, he didn't say anything. And so he kept asking his brother, like, what did you see? What did you see? And his brother wouldn't say anything. And his brother's like, I'm going to go to bed. And he said right as his brother started walking to the bedroom, all of a sudden at the door, he hears boom, 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 boom. Someone is knocking at the door. And he hears it again. Boom, 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 boom. You know, this loud knocking. And he goes up to the door and gets really close. And all of a sudden, his dad comes running out and grabs him and says, do not open that door, son. And he's like, why? Who's out there? Like, who's outside? And he's like, we can't say anything about it. We don't talk about it. Like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And he said all night long, they heard the knocking on the door. So the next morning when he gets up, right, his brother is very, very ill. And it's like his brother just got worse and worse, and then eventually passed away. And he said he always attributed his brother what he had seen out of that window, like maybe that is what was the cause of what happened to him. And he said still to this day, his father will not talk about it, what was outside the house.
I got another scary story for y'all that was submitted by a viewer, but they would like to stay anonymous. So if you're watching this and you want your scary story to be told by me,
this was the real life.
I got another scary story for y'all that was submitted by
This will be the last one, y'all. God,
but
I'm
they
so
would
tired.
like to stay anonymous. So if you're watching this and you want your scary story to be told by me, just hit the DM. So the girl sent me this and said, please don't say my name, and that she only told a few people this story because it happened a while ago, but she still think about it every day. She starts off by saying, when I was 9, I had this imaginary friend named Kayla. She always wore a blue dress. She never blinked. And she always wanted to play one game. And the one game she wanted to play was hide and seek. She goes, but it was never me hiding. I had to stand still while she looked for me. I didn't really get that part, did y'all? She said eventually I got older and I didn't want to play with her anymore. And I told my mom that I didn't want to have an imaginary friend anymore. So I thought it was over. Fast forward to when I was 15. I'm home alone on a Saturday morning. I hear a faint, soft voice calling my name from inside the laundry room. I paused. My eyes got wide because I knew that voice. it was Kayla, but I haven't heard from her in a while. So I slowly walk over to the laundry room. I open the laundry room door. I step 1 foot inside, and then the lights flickered, and then it completely went dark. I didn't move. I couldn't move. It felt like my body was stuck. I was scared, and it was pitch black. And then all of a sudden, I felt and I heard a little whisper in my ear. And the voice from Kayla said, "You forgot about me." I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I went into fight or flight. And I chose flight. I ran upstairs as quick as I could to my mother's room. I told her everything as I was crying. But she didn't really believe me. I can tell by her face. She goes, "Your old imaginary friend Kayla, she's back?" As if she didn't believe me the way she said it. As I continued to cry, I said, "Yes, Mom, yes." So we both walked down together into the laundry room. The lights was on. The dryer door was wide open, and it was scratched with the name Kayla.
This.
All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with me this one. Whew. It was tough to get through because I am so beat, and I apologize for the dozing because I know if you caught me, if you watch me, I was like, whew. Tired. Anyway, I appreciate y'all rocking with me. We're gonna do this again when I haven't had a full day's work already. So I have plenty of energy, and we're gonna go over some current stuff that's going on in the world. I think that'll be very interesting. So, but if you got any ideas you want me to go over, please feel free to hit me up in the chat. Like, follow, subscribe, all the above. Appreciate your time. Till next.